At the Tank Museum. Welcome again, sorry about that. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Welcome to Tanks in Action at the Tank Museum. The display we're going to see this afternoon will last for about 25 minutes or so and is intended to show how different types of armoured vehicles cooperate with each other and complement each other on the battlefield, allowing our armed force commander to take the fight to the enemy. But before we start, the inevitable health and safety announcements. I can't imagine dust is going to be much of a problem today, but please remember, armoured vehicles by their very nature are big, smoky, noisy beasts. If there's anyone in your party who may be susceptible, please be aware of that. Equally, there will be a number of quite loud pyrotechnic explosions during this display, and if there's anyone of a sensitive nature in your party, could I very, very respectfully suggest this is not going to be the display for them. In the unlikely event of there being an issue in the arena, I'll ask you to exit, if you would please, through the arena gate here. To my right, my colleague Rick Bell will show you safely to the far side of the car park. And could you please resist the temptation to jump in your cars and disappear into the hinterland of Dorset. That way, if we need to do head counts, it's a bit easier and we're not impeding any emergency vehicles. There is one final health and safety message I need to give out. We got intel this morning that it looks as if a small but deadly Ruritanian Special Forces group has been landed on the south coast of England, probably around about Lulworth Cove, and there's a possibility they may be coming here to cause a bit of mayhem. If you're on holiday, give me a wave if you're on holiday. Who's on holiday? Excellent, welcome to sunny Dorset. If you're on holiday, you probably haven't been keeping up with the news, and you probably haven't realised just how bad relations have got between His Britannic Majesty's government and the Central European Duchy of Ruritania. So can you please keep your eye open for any infiltrators. But we'll see how we go on during the display. I think it's about time we got this show on the road, ladies and gentlemen. Now, even in this time, this age of spy satellites and unmanned drones, it's vital for our armoured force commander to have eyes on the ground that he trusts. So our first couple of vehicles, we've got a reconnaissance vehicle and a patrol vehicle coming out. First one coming through, the reconnaissance vehicle, is the Canadian Lynx. And the second one, the patrol vehicle, is rather eccentric looking beast, is the South African Buffalo. It's vital for our armoured force commander to know what the enemy is like in front of him. How big is the enemy force? How well armed are they? To an extent even, will they stand? What's their morale like? If they're engaged, will they stand or will they run? Equally important, what's the state of things like bridges or river crossings between friendly forces and the enemy? Will the bridges take the weight of these main battle tanks? Reconnaissance vehicles tend to be relatively light, relatively quick, relatively lightly armoured and relatively lightly armed. And interestingly, what we have out today, the Canadian version, doesn't necessarily meet all those criteria. And I'll have a closer look when she comes round and parks up here. But it was almost an experiment on behalf of the Canadian Army. They had got access to an existing vehicle which they adapted to use as a reconnaissance vehicle. Now, if anybody out there is a fan of Oliver Stone's Vietnam movies, you may well be thinking this looks a bit familiar. It will do. This is a version of the American M113 armoured personnel carrier. It's been cut down in size. They dropped a road wheel each side and shortened the body. It shares the same lightweight aluminium armour that the M113 has. So it's not really a fighting vehicle. It's not intended to fight. It's intended to close to visual range with the enemy, to get that kind of intel that I was talking about a moment ago, their size, their capability, and to send that back to the Armed Force Commander. Now, the vehicle is amphibious-ish. It's not a great swimmer, it will just about manage using its tracks for forward momentum. So that gives you a little bit of flexibility in the recce roll. It's quite quick, as you'll see a bit later on, I'm sure. This particular one is fairly heavily armed. It's mounting a 50 caliber machine gun, the M2 Browning, the old Margoose, originally designed back at the end of World War I as an anti-tank weapon. Still in use today. You'll see it mounted on British Army vehicles today and Army vehicles all around the world. That's a 50 caliber. The Lynx was also built by the Dutch Army, and the Dutch. Do we have any Dutch in today? Yes. Hello. Hi. You guys were obviously being a wee bit aggressive because you took the 50 cal off and you mounted a 25mm Oerlikon cannon on there. Now that gives it considerable firepower, and also it gives it that sort of flexibility in roll. 3-man crew, driver, radio operator, very, very important in a recce vehicle, and of course the gunner there you can see. So the Canadian Lynx. One of the disadvantages, I don't need to be mean about the Lynx, but one of the disadvantages that you heard there, track vehicles are relatively noisy. There's always this argument about what's best, wheeled vehicles or track vehicles for reconnaissance. Track vehicles give you cross-country capability, wheeled vehicles are quiet, or quieter. And here's our wheeled vehicle. This is the South African Buffalo. Now, do we have any South Africans in the audience? No? Excellent, because my Afrikaans is not as good as it should be, right? But I understand Buffalo in Afrikaans means buffalo. This was a vehicle designed by the South African government during that period of apartheid. Now it's important to stress that in the Tank Museum we have to deal with a lot of quite difficult history. There's a lot of vehicles in here which represent relatively odious regimes. This could be said to be one of them. It was bought by the British Army for evaluation. Now you may wonder why we were doing that, why we were buying weapons systems of a country which was under an arms embargo. There's a good reason, I'll explain to you in a moment. The base of this vehicle is in fact a Mercedes-Benz Unimog, so a standard commercial vehicle which has been armoured up and created for use as a patrol vehicle and used by the South African apartheid government in what it called its border wars right the way through the 70s, 80s, up to about 1990, when it was fighting countries like Angola, Zambia, Namibia. Nasty little frontier wars. These were what we would call asymmetrical warfare. The South African army was far more powerful conventionally, like fighter aircraft, like tanks, all this sort of thing, far more powerful than the people that were fighting guerrillas in the bush. And this is designed to do that. It's designed to deal with the main weapon of the guerrilla, which is the mine or the improvised explosive device, what we would now call an IED, as we learned to call them after Afghanistan. The reason the British Army bought this vehicle was to assess, to evaluate its mine-proofing. And some of the lessons we've learned from this were incorporated in British Army vehicles and American Army vehicles, which later on went up against IEDs in places like Afghanistan. They all exit the vehicle. Now then, you've seen the reconnaissance vehicle. You've seen a very lightly armoured patrol vehicle. This is an armoured personnel carrier. This is the British Army FB432. Originally to be called the Trojan, almost uniquely in the British Army, it never really acquired its name. It was always known as the 432. Still in service today, even though this one dates back to the 1960s, still in service today in the second line capability of the British Army, where it's been renamed the Bulldog and considerably up-armoured and up-gunned and given electronic countermeasures to deal with IEDs and this kind of thing. It was the Bulldogs that we sent out to Ukraine to help the guys out there. Now, you might be wondering, I'm sure you are, you're sitting there, hang on, wait a minute, I paid my money to come to the Tank Museum. You showed me a reconnaissance vehicle, that kind of makes sense because the tanks rely on reconnaissance. You showed me a patrol vehicle, okay, yeah, anti-mine, a lot of tanks, you'll notice there's tanks in there which have got anti-mine protection on them. Why we look at the infantry vehicle, the answer is that infantry and tanks are symbiotic. The one cannot really exist without the other. If you don't have infantry support for your tanks, they are vulnerable, they are vulnerable to attack from relatively small numbers of enemy infantry armed with shoulder-launched missiles and what have you. Now we learned this in World War II. So, although the original Trojan was meant to have a turret on top with a cannon in there, it was never adopted because here comes the real weapon of this vehicle, ladies and gentlemen. These are the Bollington Volunteers. Give a cheer. Hey, look at that. Finally honed fighting units.
Oh, look at that.
And nobody fell over running it. That's a plus. I'm going to take that as a win. The idea is, effectively, we're looking at something we might call a battlefield taxi. The idea of the armored personnel carrier is that you take this infantry, these are the guys who are going to protect the tanks against shoulder-launched missiles. These are the guys who are going to flush out the hedgerows, clear the houses, this kind of thing on either side of the armoured advance. These are the guys who are going to be doing the things that the Russians forgot about when they invaded Ukraine, which is why they lost so much armour to Ukrainians armed with javelins and N-law anti-tank missiles, right? The APC will deliver them safely to the battlefield. They will then jump out. The army has this splendid expression they use. They call it debussing. They will debus from the back of the armored personnel carrier, do their business, and then, hopefully successfully, end bus and be carried safely off the battlefield. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, right time for heavy metal. Any heavy metal fans? The heavy metal fans, just shake your heads, but here it comes. 58 tons of Detroit steel. This is America's Cold War Warriors. This is That, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what a tank should sound like. Trust me, if you're on a stick fence somewhere and you can hear the squeak of those tanks and the growl of those diesels, that's going to spoil your entire day. Now the M60, I like the M60 for a number of reasons, one of which it makes my life really easy. The M60 was introduced to the American Army in 1960. That's easy to remember. It also weighs a shade under 60 tons, technically 58 tons. So we'll say that she's bombed up with full ammo and fuel, we'll say she's about 60 tons. So, nice easy for you to remember. It's not a particularly innovative vehicle. In the museum, we have an M48 pattern. The M48 pattern was the standard American tank that was stationed in West Germany at the height of the Cold War. Then, the Russians introduced their own new vehicle, the T-55, and NATO became very concerned that the T-55 was not, the M48 was not capable of being a T-55. So they effectively up-armoured up guns, the M48, so the M60 is not an innovation, it's an evolution if you like. Well, one thing I really must get across, obviously, working in the tank museum, a bit of a tank nerd, so I really must get across this idea. This is not a pattern. Okay, you will see reference to it, the M60 pattern. I've seen it in print in the M60 pattern. This is not the pattern. This is the first American tank which they stopped calling pattern. They had about 3 or 4 tanks they did call the pattern. This is not a pattern. By the time this one came into service with the Americans, George Patton's reputation takes a bit of a dip. You know, the wartime hero has become the racist, misogynist guy who went around whacking people who suffered from PTSD. So they ditched the main pattern. It's simply called the M60. It's got a cast steel hull, incredibly tough, and the gun you can see there, technically is the M68, 105mm. That's the size of the hole you look down when they point the gun at you. I have to tell you, the M68 is no more or less than the British L705 made on the license in America. So that is in effect a British gun on there. The same gun that was on the Centurion tank. It's the same gun that was actually fitted on the original Abrams, and that came out a bit later on. Fires a variety of shells, both hard, armor-defeating SAMO rounds, as they call them, or ABDS rounds. It also fires a chemical round, which is a chemical anti-tank round, and it's capable of firing explosives and what have you. So a very, very capable vehicle. The Americans didn't use it in combat until quite late in its career. It's a bit like the Chieftain. In the 1960s, Americans and M60s, Brits and Chieftains were sitting on our side of the frontier, eyeballing Russians in T-62s, Japanese T-72s on their side of the frontier, and neither side moved. Right? This was the Americans. It's a bit like insurance. You don't really ever want to revoke it, but it's there in case you need to. It was sold widely to 22 countries around the world. Very good sales technique the Americans have. A lot of them went to Israel. The IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, used them in the Yom Kippur War of 1973 when they went up against Russian-built T-62s operated by Syrians. And in the 1980s they used it in the wars in Turkey and Lebanon when they went up against Russian-built T-72s. It did pretty well. By the 1980s, it was getting a wee bit long in the tooth. They did up armour a bit. They tended to put reactive armour on there, which is armour which explodes when hit from the outside and sets up this equal opposite action-reaction approach. It said blunts anything coming into the vehicle. So they really should be What's that? Can anybody see anybody suspicious? Yes? Is it Mauritanian? I can't see. No, I can't see it. There's something going on there, ladies and gentlemen. And they fired on the M60. My goodness. No, they chose the wrong target. Hello, it's not just a bazooka man there. They're bringing in some indirect fire as well. These are Mauritanians, ladies and gentlemen. They are under attack from Mauritania. Oh, no. They're waving Mount Donington. No, this cannot stand this really cannot stand. The British Army is somewhat busy at the moment, deployed elsewhere, out of the Baltics or what have you, so it looks like we have to deal with this incursion ourselves. Now, they took a pop at the M60, that was the wrong target. That was a very heavily armoured target, so mercifully, from our point of view, it doesn't seem to have done much more than superficial damage, but look out, they've got armour! It's Mauritanian armour, ladies and gentlemen. And do you know what? Yeah, boom! Come on, yes! Boom! Down the Mauritanians. Interestingly, they've come in another Canadian vehicle. That's 2 Canadian vehicles we're going today. This is the Cougar. A derivation of an existing throwing litter about typical Mauritanian behaviour. A derivation, yes, stop that. Yes, we'll see. A derivation of a Swiss vehicle, the Moag Carrara 1, which the Canadians brought in and put the turret of the Scorpion tank on there. So that's got a 76mm gun on there, capable of firing some of that chemical anti-tank range I was talking about. So technically, at least on paper, it could even threaten the M60 on paper. Now, we're obviously sending out our recce vehicle. Now notice that turn of speed. That's pretty impressive. The track vehicle. He's come up to try and get eyes on, I suspect, the bazooka man, because we know where the Cougar is, but the bazooka man has disappeared again. The Buffalo is backing him up, which is, I would suggest, rather more brave than sensible, frankly, because it's not terribly heavily armoured. But nevertheless, they're looking to find that bazooka man. And once they've got some eyeballs on it, they're going to deploy, or we're going to deploy it. Here comes the Volunteer Volunteers. See them there? Right towards the back of the battlefield. They're debossing from the 432. Moving out in the skirmish line. And their Sergeant Major is going to bring them forward to engage the bazooka armed infiltrator. Still having a bit of difficulty pinning him down by the look of it. Both the Lynx crew and the Buffalo will be looking to get eyes on. As soon as they have, they'll deploy. This is very tense, ladies and gentlemen. We know how damaging these shoulder launch anti-tank missiles can be. Ah! Look, there he is! He's going to fire again! Oh, the Cougar's right, and the Cougar's hit the Buffalo. Oh, this is bad news, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, there we go. And now we've returned fire. The Owl have got a mortar going. They're going to suppress that bazooka man. He's disappeared. Out of the way there. There we go, we deployed smoke to cover the advance of the infantry, but also, of course, to cover the advance of the M60. Let's face it, you've got to be deaf not to hear it. That's it, guys. Blank in that area. Keep his head down. Ah, good shot, sir. Obviously, the Royal Retainers have sacked some ammo or some fuel there. He hit that. That's going to slow them down. Here comes the M60. Now then, face off between the M60 and the Cougar. The Cougar was used in the wars in the former Yugoslavia by the Canadians, mostly for fire support. Oh, hey, got him! And a cheer they did. Look at that, one shot. Right on the Cougar. There we are. Remember, British built, British designed L7105. Right, and he's surrendering, ladies and gentlemen. The Cougar surrendering. He's waving to surrender. Hang on, that's not a flag. That looks like he's waving his drawers on the end of the stick. I'm not sure about that. Here comes the Lynx coming in. Now, the last thing we want are Ruritanians disappearing into the countryside around here, so the Lynx is going to keep the Cougar under surveillance by 50 cap. There goes that ridiculous. There it is. Ray, you've got the bazooka man. He's surrendered. And I suspect, ladies and gentlemen, here we come. There goes the Union flag, ladies and gentlemen. Have a cheer. Oh! God save the King. Well, I must admit, I never thought I'd hear stuff like that. God save the King. Here's 432, deploying. Here's the Bovington Volunteers. They've got the bazooka man in custody, and they will end bus back into the 432 and be carried safely off the battlefield. And it looks like the bottle is still moving again. Obviously that was only a glassy blow on the bottle. I'm sure it alarmed the driver a bit, but he seems to have survived. There goes the Lynx, showing its pressure turn of speed again. Buffalo's following him off. Here comes 432. Give our volunteers a cheer, ladies and gentlemen. I can just about hear you above the noise of the engine. That was impressive. Right, as the vehicle move off, they will be taking position in front of our vehicle conservation centre, which is on the washdown, and they will be available there. The crew will be there if you want to go up there close look at these vehicles. And a couple of crew maybe they'll open up the back of one or two of them so you can see inside. The one thing I will say is please be careful. The exhaust on these vehicles gets very, very hot. You don't want anybody get burned by touching what engine compartments and stuff like that. Our vehicle conservation centre will be open pretty much now, and that's open until 3 o'clock this afternoon. And our vehicle rides will be starting again in about 10-15 minutes maybe from the up down there, the area down there. You've been a great audience, ladies and gentlemen. You've been very patient. This has been bang on about it. Remember, your ticket lasts a year. Do come back and see us again. I can pretty much guarantee that the vehicles will be different. I can also pretty much guarantee the one part of the jokes will be exactly the same. Thanks, ladies and gents. Bye-bye now.